Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Happy Sunday, everybody. We got Joe Rogan talking about something very interesting that I did. Well, not even interesting. This is actually gut-wrenching. This is terrifying, in fact. They're talking a little bit about Luigi Mangione, and I really like Duncan Trussell's take on this whole thing. Him being such a bleeding heart liberal, I didn't think he would have this type of take on Luigi Mangione. And then after, Joe Rogan gets into a topic about a doctor who was telling people they had cancer when they didn't, so he could charge Medicare and just make money off of the treatments. Absolutely crazy story. I had to go deeper into that. Let's jump into the Joe Rogan clip, and then I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. Let's go.
It's filled with machines.
Yeah.
We're a piece.
So that is exactly what you want pieces of your factory to think like. And that is why at any moment, anybody can actually just turn the channel. You're not a piece of the factory. Actually, you're the universe.
You are the universe.
And you're the universe who has been, dude, I mean, look what they could do to lions at a circus. This deadly thing. They can make it jump through hoops. They can make it catch a frisbee, right? So think of this.
Most of the time.
That's right.
When they can't. Those make for some wild Instagram videos.
Oh, they do. And
there's a lot of those out there.
There is. It's the assassination of a CEO. And by the way, like, I am not like assigning any kind of like. I think it's a slippery slope if we start publicly executing CEOs. Like if you start, you know what I mean? That's a real slippery slope.
It's super slippery.
But I'll tell you, if you sort of look at the factory, the way it works is like number one, you really aren't supposed to identify the actual, like, what's causing like a lot of suffering. Like once you start making those identifications, then and you follow through with some kind of action based on those identifications. Number one, the action can't be based on the rules of the factory. Of course, the factory is going to create rules. You can go out with your signs or whatever if you're at the right place. Not at Amazon where they arrested those people protesting, but there's places in the factory where you can go and be like, I need more oil. I'm squeaking. But only once in a while and only in the right way. It's a peaceful protest is what we call it. You do it at the wrong time, it's an insurrection. You know what I mean? So the factory's got rules about how we do this.
Right.
So the moment you go outside of those rules, the moment you like actually, and to do that, you have to somehow really think outside the factory. Then you see something like that happen. And then you see the way the factory responds, which is the perp walk they did with that dude. They've got SEAL Team 6 walking that guy in.
He's handsome. It's like a movie.
Oh, it's like, yeah.
In a movie, if you saw that handsome guy getting arrested and there was like SEAL Team 6 behind him protecting him, you'd be like, that's no way they would do that.
That's right.
It's just a regular killer.
Yeah.
There's no way they would have that many guys guarding that guy.
Well, they're not guarding that guy. Look at that. They're sending a message. They're saying, listen, we will surround you. And like that. So because like what's really scary about what he did is like, and I think if you want to like take murder, cold-blooded murder, and just for a second call it activism, what that guy did is he didn't just like, send a message, which is really scary for people like CEOs, which is saying, listen, man, like you can't keep us with the insurance. If you do, you're not safe. And so that's scary as because that's the CEOs, of course, are the ones who pay for the lobbyists, who pay for the laws. And so he sends a message of a methodology, which again, I think if we're going to get into a better place, using violence, I just don't think that's the path. But just as an analysis, dude, I would say you could expect more of that to happen, and that is going to lead to the Darth Vader people coming out more.
Yeah, you're not co-signing it.
I'm not co-signing it at all. No.
No, but it's a realistic assessment. Like there's something going on. People are very upset, and they've been able to do this to people for so long, deny people treatment for so long.
Like, you remember when your dad had to come downstairs? Like you're f***ing up, or you're like misbehaving with your brother. You're doing something really bad. You set something on fire.
Right.
Your dad comes downstairs. He's been at work. He's pissed. That's how you know you're really When people start doing stuff like that, then the dad has to come downstairs. And when the dad comes downstairs, it looks like the dude's in the Darth Vader outfits. All of a sudden, this facade, for a second, they have to stop the show, turn on the lights. These guys in full body armor come out, spray chemicals into your face and drag you away. And then, all right, start the show up again. It gets memory hold. So that is an example of what happens when the factory is imbalanced. And right now the factory is imbalanced, dude. It's just, that's the problem. There's a reason we need the middle class. There's a reason you need some path forward. There's a reason you need to be able to buy a house. And aside from like the human comfort and starting a family and all that stuff, the moment you pull that away from people, now what? It's like, so wait, what am I supposed to do here? Now, again, I am not advocating violence. I think that if we keep doing violence, we're going to keep getting violence. But it's a really scary thing when shit gets so imbalanced. And when you hear about like the health insurance, like I'm lucky because like I'm on Crapopolis on Fox. I have incredible health insurance, dude. But like you read about the people denying like really important medication, really important procedures to people, sending them stacks of paper explaining why we're not going to pay. You know, I got my colonoscopy recently. It cost me $100. You know how much they charged my insurance company? $9,000.
Have you ever talked to Brigham Bueller about this?
No.
You should. You know, because he understands it from top to bottom. He can tell you exactly what's going on. He's talked about it on the podcast. But it's, you know, it's a giant machine. It's a giant money machine.
That's right.
That's really what it is. It's not really about making you better. It's a giant money machine.
That's right.
Making you better is what they sell.
Yeah.
But it's about making more money.
That's right.
And they can make incredible amounts of money for surgeries that maybe you don't need.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying everybody does it, but some people do it. There's a guy that just got arrested recently. I don't know if you heard about this guy. I sent this to Peter Attia. I could send it to you, Jamie. Or maybe you could find it. This dude, he was telling people they had cancer, and they didn't. And it was like a ton of cases. And he'd give them chemotherapy, man. And he'd make them, like, severely ill.
Yeah, demon.
And he did it to, like, I don't remember the number, because I think the number stunned me so much I didn't want to remember it. But this guy told a ton of people they had cancer. Just scared the out of them, ruined their lives,
dude,
and then gave them poison that's designed to kill cancer.
Is it a few, like 10 years old?
It could have been. Somebody sent it to me on Instagram. It was a news story.
Oh my God.
He got 45. That's all he got was 45 years.
It says
a pretty long
13
time.
counts.
He's 50. That's a life sentence. Well, yeah, man.
Now, I don't know if this is the same guy. Maybe more doctors have done it. You know, this is one of the things that I found out. I was doing a bit about this fertility clinic that was using his own jizz. There's not one case. There's a shit ton of cases. Like, I wonder how many of these doctors there's creepy doctors that, just like there's creepy carpenters. Like, just like there's, you know, like some doctors don't give a fuck about people.
Why do they use their own jizz? Do they run?
They want all the babies. They want everyone to have their baby.
Oh, so it's not. They're
like just psychos.
People aren't coming in.
No, there's women that went in with her husbands, and he's like, I got a better option for you, sweetheart. That's what this guy did. He ran a fertility clinic, and I think people started figuring it out when 23andMe came around. And this is just one of these guys. There's been a ton of those guys.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have to actually say, I let the clip run a little long, but my wife and I watched a documentary about a dude that was doing that. And I guess he had a clinic. I'm not even sure if he had a clinic, but I mean, this guy, he was letting them know that it was his, but he fathered so many children. I think it was in the Netherlands, somewhere in Europe. He fathered so many children that the women started figuring out that their kids were cousins. And I'm talking about like everywhere. Like this guy had so many, and it was just in that one place. And then he did it in other places, and he did it in South America. It was crazy. And they're venturing to say that he might have fathered like 800 kids. Just wild. But they can't arrest him or something. He has a YouTube channel. Oh, I wish I could remember the guy's YouTube channel. And he's just talking about it. He's like, yeah, you know, what's the problem? It was so weird. And because he had long hair, and he was like, he wasn't actually that good looking at all, but he had like long hair. I don't know. They just saw him as someone who they would be okay having his kid. And he just took advantage of it to the craziest degree. Absolutely wild story. Now, when we're talking about Luigi Mangione, now, for me, see, Duncan has this take of, you know, I love that he said cold-blooded murder and calling it activism, because that's exactly what that is. And that's exactly what people have been doing. People have been backing this guy's murder as if he is some kind of hero for doing this. And he's really not. But at the same time, Duncan, with the very balanced take, understands that, you know, if you're gonna, like, there is a message that's been sent. If you're gonna keep messing around, some people might do this. It's very balanced, because this guy didn't do any activism. He did something terrible, you know? And a lot of people, even in the comments of the last video I did, were trying to like justify it, like, whoa, my dad, this happened and that happens. Like, yeah, well, my dad died of cancer too. And you can't just be like, oh, well, I mean, eye for an eye, I guess. You cannot do it that way. Or else it's just going to come down to like, well, I mean, the guy said no mayo, and I know I told him to put mayo. So, you know, I did what I had to do. I'm a hero, yes? I did what I had to do. I just pulled him over the counter, and I don't know. I guess in the hospital he passed away. I don't know. It was just, I mean, come on, guys. It gets very slippery, where people think they can just kind of exact their own justice all over the place, and you really don't want that. You know, I find it interesting. I find it really interesting when people have kids and they're like, yeah. It's like, are you sure that's the type of world you want to set up for your kids, where people are just getting whacked because someone didn't like what they do? You know, what are we, the Clintons? What are we, people? Are we the Clintons? Come on, you know? Anyway, and I didn't mean that. I'm kidding. They're nice people, I'm sure. This perp walk, though. This, for me, you know, Duncan says it was to send a message. And I could see that, but for me, it instantly made me think this whole thing is fake. It instantly made me think this is a distraction, this is fake, this is nonsense. And when this died down really quick, all of a sudden that debate about the H-1B visas popped off. I'm like, what's going on here? What kind of distractions are they setting up right now? And why are Vivek and Elon falling for it or contributing to it? It was really weird. I don't know. But that's what this said to me when I saw this. I was like, this is crazy. There's just no need for this. You know, again, I have a soft spot for a father whose life was taken. But at the same time, it was one person. Yes, it was very premeditated. But it's not like this guy bombed a building. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he's any better or worse. Like, it's just... none of it made sense. The mayor of the city's there. It just doesn't make sense. Like this walk here, they could have had him in a car, brought him to this point here, had him get out right there. They could have pulled up a car, had him get out right at this point and go inside there. They could have easily done that. Like, why did they need to walk him like this? And again, you can argue it's to send a message, but I don't know, man. This just reeked of, you know, it made me put on my tinfoil Speedo. You know, sometimes I put on the tinfoil Speedo and I'm just like, is this guy an actor? You know, it's terrible. Sometimes I feel terrible, but it's just like, you put on the tinfoil Speedo and your mind just goes places. Like, is this real? You know, what was going on with the guy? You know, a lot of people talk about the CEO was about to testify against some people for some things. He knew so much that he just needed to go. Like, is this guy real? Like, he looks one way one day, you know, for some reason they let him style his eyebrows while he was in jail, apparently, because he had one eyebrow. Now all of a sudden he has two. I'm not saying it's different people, but it's like, you know, you let actors do that. You don't let criminals do that. I need a razor so I can shave between my eyebrows. It's just, it's starting to connect. I have a unibrow. I just want to get rid of that. We're going to be in front of camera. No, you're a killer. Sorry. We're not giving you, we don't even give you shoelaces. We're not giving you a razor. What are we talking about here? I guess I'll just tweeze it with my fingers. Is that what happened? Okay. That's how aware he is being on camera? I don't know. It just, it makes your mind go places. It just seems like a bit much. It's definitely a big distraction. And all of a sudden, have you heard about it recently? I haven't heard about it. Have you heard about the drones recently? I haven't heard about it. And now all of a sudden, as soon as those two things die down, all of a sudden we're all focused on visas. The tinfoil Speedo it opens your mind a little bit, you know? Now we're all focused on visas. Is there something going on that we're not watching? What's happening in Syria? Syria, like, is it like over? Like, what happened? What's happening? I'm just saying. I don't know. It's odd. And then people see this. They saw him doing this hand symbol. You know, there's always accounts that follow the hand symbols. I used to be one of those people too. I know about all the hand symbols. He's kind of doing the Illuminati symbol, right? Like the rock, you know, what Jay-Z throws up all the time and a lot of people in Hollywood. But then he has this finger in there as well. And then he also has this one up as well. I don't know. What's he a part of? Who knows? Very rich family. You know? Who knows? You gotta figure out who his family is. But now, take that for what it is. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. It's just weird. He's evaporated. Huge perp walk. Everybody's talking about him. Now he's gone. Can you contribute that to the mainstream news cycle? But all of a sudden, it's like it dried up on X as well. X usually focuses on things a little longer than the mainstream news. Evaporated at the same time. People supporting him evaporated as well. No more of that. All gone. You know? Drones, mainstream media is not touching on it anymore. All gone. And I'm going to make another episode about that, but it's just very odd. Where did it go? Where did everything go? Now we're talking about visas. What are we going to be talking about next? Speaker of the House, January 3rd. January 3rd. Focus on that, I guess. Trump's going to be taking office. The inauguration. Well, focus on that, I guess. You know? I don't know. It just makes you wonder sometimes what you're being distracted from. But let's just get into the story that kind of boggled my mind and also makes me, you know, I can't say anything. You know, I wasn't that involved when my dad had his cancer case. We just didn't have the best relationship. You know, my other siblings were helping here and there, but he was a very isolated guy. He wanted to handle things on his own a lot of the time. So I don't know, but it kind of makes me think, I'm like, man, what if he was at a hospital and somebody did this to him? That would be crazy because he was pretty healthy otherwise. But let's just play these clips here. I'm going to shrink this screen a little bit also. Let me just shrink this screen a little bit for you guys here. Let's get into it.
Money for this doctor. Tell me
Of course, I'm listening to it on double speed. Let me just slow it down here.
how he pulled this off.
Oh, Brooke, it's really awful. And this went on for quite a period of time. What this doctor would do is he would tell people who didn't have cancer that they had cancer, and then he would give them treatments and charge insurance companies. And people who did have cancer, he would give them more treatments than they needed. One man, for example, got 177 unnecessary chemotherapy treatments. So, Brooke, in the end, more than 550 patients got unnecessary treatments, and he charged insurance approximately $225 million for these treatments.
Wow. So this is, I should be clear, this is a doctor in Michigan. You mentioned 177 treatments. When we say treatments, we're talking chemotherapy. What else? How do these affect people, physically speaking? How could, if they weren't sick?
Right, or even if they were sick, that they were getting too many. I mean, this one man was sick, but he got 177 chemo treatments that he didn't actually need. And, you know, we all know chemotherapy can make you so sick, you know, nauseous and fever, and you can't take care of your family often, and you can't work often. There was a patient whose teeth fell out, another one whose body twitched. I mean, these treatments make you really, really sick, and some people didn't even have cancer, and then other people were getting treatments when they did have cancer, but they didn't need. They were sort of these extra treatments he was billing for. It's, you know, the Justice Department says that he is the most egregious fraudster in the history of our country.
Wild. Absolutely wild. And I was a little skeptical if I was talking about the same person or covering the same person that Joe was talking about, but this gentleman got 45 years as well. Maybe there's another guy. I didn't find any in the research. And honestly, at the same time, I gotta also say, it's like, this is the guy that got caught, you know?
Sir,
yeah,
some of them.
It's hard to fail.
Wow.
So, and then there were patients who did have cancer who he was also treating. Typically, there's a course of treatment. You have maybe several months, and then you have time off, and then you have several months again for a second course, and then they evaluate how it went. Mm-hmm. He would put the patients on chemotherapy for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Oh my God.
Constant chemotherapy. What that does to your body. You had patients whose teeth were destroyed. You had patients who were terminal. We're never going to get better. In medical practice, at that point, when you realize there's nothing we can do,
you give them quality of life.
The treatment stops.
Right.
Let them enjoy their remaining days with their family. He would give them chemotherapy in the last days of their life because he could bill Medicare for it, because he could bill private insurance companies for it, even though it had no chance of saving them.
So let's talk about this.
This is so crazy. Such a crazy story. I don't know how I didn't hear about this, but just wild that this guy. We're also going to hear from some people who were victims, some of the victims' families. Just crazy that this guy. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that this guy's trying to get out of jail, which is crazy to me. Pled guilty. Now he's saying that he's duped, and he's talking about possibly getting out of jail. Okay, let's play this here.
Before his sentencing, Fata stood up in front of the judge and sobbed uncontrollably at times. It was the first time he showed any emotion in court. He refused to face his victims or show emotion during their impact statements earlier this week, but somehow found the tears when it came to trying to save himself. Now, Fata, you may recall, is accused of unnecessarily medicating more than 500 patients, some with chemo, patients who didn't even have cancer. His motive? They're now left with lasting health problems, those victims. His motive, money and greed, according to him and the judge. He would fraudulently bill insurers for those bogus treatments. Now, here's some of what Fata said to the judge when pleading for a lesser sentence. I want to show you this. I stand before you so ashamed of my actions. I pray for repentance and the right of redemption. Last Tuesday, I could not look at my patients and their families. I was horribly ashamed of my conduct. I have violated the medical oath and caused anguish, hardship, and pain to my patients and their families. If we can come back here live, I want to bring in some of these folks that were listening to all of this. Your name, ma'am?
Cheryl Blades.
And tell me your story briefly.
My mom was diagnosed in 2011 with adenocarcinoma, and after his arrest and getting her records, we found out that she was grossly overdosed with Farahim, which is one of the items that he pled guilty to.
And your reaction to the 45 years?
Not long enough. It's not long enough. He took many lives. 45 years is not long enough.
And when he got up there and gave his impact statement, he was crying. Did it mean anything to you?
It was more of hearing his voice for the first time was the hardest part of me, because I could hear him talking to my mother, because I went to every appointment. So I could hear him talking to her and promising her to save her.
And tell me about these blue ribbons. All of you guys have been banding together all week. You've been traveling by bus, coming in, holding hands, supporting each other. What does that mean?
We've become a family. The blue ribbon signifies our group for the patients and victims of Dr. Fata's. We stand together as one. As we said before, we're an army of one, and we will continue fighting this to make sure that other doctors can't do this to other victims.
Well, ma'am, good luck to you, and thank you for speaking with us. We also heard a short time ago from U.S. Attorney Barb McQuaid. Listen into what she had to say.
Let's move on to another survivor, or victim, I should say, more so. Here's another one.
We're inside of that courtroom and we're affected. First, I have Liz. Liz, can you tell me about that moment when the sentence was read?
It was very emotional. I was hopeful that I'd get 175 years based on the judge saying this is an unprecedented case. He harmed so many people, so it deserves a just sentence. 45 years is not a just sentence. 45 years is a slap in all the victims' faces. Hundreds to thousands of victims, their homes were taken away from them. Their loved ones and families were lost. Not Fata's, not poor Fata. He talked about all his health problems. Poor Fata. I haven't had medical insurance, and I've had all kinds of health problems because of this. Poor us, not poor Fata.
And you told us this has affected you from the very beginning. You made most of these court appearances or these court hearings. Just talk to me about that.
Yes, I've been here for every court appearance. It's been very emotional. It's been 2 years of court appearances that have been very hard and difficult.
How has Dr. Fata affected your life?
Oh, tremendously. He took away my one remaining family member. I have distant relatives, but my mom was my last remaining family member. And it's been a struggle for the past 10 years since my mom first saw him.
Man, so crazy. So crazy. That's the guy right there. Absolutely wild what he was able to pull off. And again, you know, the reason I play this is because it does speak to a healthcare system that, you know, obviously it's one deranged individual, because to do this type of thing for money, you're deranged. You know, you're not greedy at that point. You're a deranged person, but it does speak to a healthcare system that is really messed up, really, really messed up. Now, do I think like all the CEOs, like Duncan was saying, you know, you can't just go out and just start slaughtering people, you know, that's not the answer, but there has to be some kind of answer. You know, I definitely don't want to leave it as you can't do that, Luigi, end of story. I don't want to leave it there, but something has to be done, obviously, you know, and I don't know if RFK is going to be touching on this. You know, he's really focused on no ads for drugs on TV. He's really focused on, you know, revamping all of these, you know, FDA, NIH, and, you know, so on and so forth. He's really focused on getting certain things out of the food system. But I don't know if he's focused on how to change this whole thing. You know, it's rough. It's rough. You know, I think about it a lot too, because there's sometimes I'm doing something, or like we're with the baby and I'm like, listen, don't turn the baby, like baby get their foot caught in something. I'm like, oh, just no accidents, no broken bones. You know, someone gets sick in the house. I was sick just like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, this can't get any worse. Tylenol, it's all I can do right now. Like, it's scary to think of something crazy happening, you know? It's just wild to think of that. Here, let's play this clip.
Very bright, because he himself was very bright and very sophisticated.
So Monica Flagg lives in pain from chemo for non-existent bone marrow cancer. Now that it's all over, does it lift your pain in any way?
I don't know long term what his treatments will do to me emotionally and physically. Did it lift it? Yes. I'm glad he's behind bars and he will never hurt or poison anyone ever again.
The judge ultimately handed down a sentence of 45 years in prison.
45 years. I wonder, you know, you think that's long enough? I mean, you know, Duncan said that is a life sentence if the guy's 50, but is there a possibility of parole, good behavior, anything like that? I would think that there shouldn't be, you know? That should be one of those things where the judge should have just said 175 just to, you know, cap it off, you know? 175, 130 with good behavior. Like, they should have said something like that just to really hit it home that this guy's not getting out, especially with all the victims there and everything. But I guess judges can't do that based on emotion. That's not what a good judge does. But I don't know, man. If I was a judge, I'd be like, I would do the proper thing with the years and everything, but I would be like, every year of your life until your life's over, you're in jail. Like, you know, just make the statement. Like, if you live to 100, you will be in jail. If you live to 110, congratulations, but you're still in jail. If you live to 120, absolutely amazing. You've done a good job, but you're still in jail. You know? But I wouldn't be a good judge. Let's play this clip.
Doctor convicted of giving chemotherapy to people who did not even have cancer, overtreating other patients, is now trying to get his conviction overturned.
And as you can imagine, his victims are angry over his new fight for freedom. 7 Action News reporter Nia Harden has reaction from one of the doctor's former patients.
Well, one woman we spoke to says she can't believe he's actually playing the victim now when there are so many others who really are the victims. She says especially when he's been convicted of one of the largest healthcare frauds in history. Fata was pumping chemo into patients who didn't need it. He was getting millions from Medicare and insurance companies. Hundreds of his victims have suffered physically and emotionally. Now Fata wants his guilty plea thrown out, saying he was duped. One woman says he's not the victim, she is.
God forbid that Fareed Fata would ever have a free day in his life. But then again, his life is pretty cushy where he's at. You know, in our country, we let him walk. We let him talk. You know, I don't get it. I mean, that he's penning a book. I mean, what kind of crap is that?
After
100%. See, she hit the nail on the head. You know, he's in a he still has the ability to even try. Like, he was duped. Such a weird thing. I was duped. You know, it wasn't me. I thought I was saving people. How can you say you were duped? Maybe duped into pleading guilty, but he was guilty. And this clip actually proves it. This nurse right here, I hope I can actually play it. You know, I'm not sure because of the music and everything, but I'm going to try anyway, because this nurse right here is the hero of this entire story. Crazy. So that nurse, she actually, she was the one who was like, hold on a second. And everything came toppling down on the guy after that. And the fact that he's even trying to get out of prison now, or, you know, even a couple of years ago, or when, he was also trying to get out of prison because of the pandemic, which a lot of people who were in jail were trying to do. They're trying to make the claim that it's like, it's not safe in here for me. I need safety. I know what I did to those 500 people, but me. It's crazy that you can even, you know, I guess, evolved country, you're able to make those pleas. You know, sometimes they fall on deaf ears, sometimes they don't. But it's incredible. Because if I was one of those, again, I wouldn't be a good judge, a good guard, or anything. I'd be like, be quiet. Get in there. Just sit. Find a book. But, there's people in upper respiratory. I'd be like, sit down. Get out of here. What are you talking about? You're not going anywhere. What? You're not going anywhere. Just relax. I'd be the worst. I'd be the worst. There's a reason why I make videos. And I didn't go to try and be in law and anything. I wouldn't do well. I wouldn't do well at all. I used to work for a phone company, actually, on the phones. And what I would regularly do, if somebody was just nice, I'd be like, hey, man, you want like 6 months of free internet? And they'd be like, well, how much do I have to pay? I'd be like, nothing, man. I just put it on your account. I did that too many times. If someone was just nice, done deal. Even if they weren't nice, I'd still do it. Because I'd be like, this guy's upset at the phone company. The phone company's crazy. They're dirtbags here. I'm like, I'll give you free internet. Can I even say that? Am I supposed to be saying that? I don't know. But very interesting story that's able to happen. And then, you know, the question becomes like, what's the solve there? You know, Rogan talks about how the fire department is quite socialist. It's a socialist endeavor because everybody pays for it and everybody gets it. And, you know, the argument that he's made, I've heard him say this in a couple episodes, is like, why can't that be done for healthcare? I've also seen socialist healthcare, or I should say universal healthcare for everybody. I've also seen that backfire on people. I've seen that backfire on a few people who, and I brought this up before, you need a surgery, you need an MRI, you need something like that. And the next thing you know, you're waiting for 5 months because, you know, it's available for everybody. So everybody has something going on. And next thing you know, you're waiting for 5 months, and maybe 5 months is too long. Maybe your body degrades if you need like a knee surgery or something. It becomes hard. But I think the solve might be bringing about some kind of healthcare that's for everybody. But again, I don't know the ramifications of that. But it seems like that would be it. It's not something I know enough about, but just in my mind. Because here's the thing, I've seen that system backfire, but the system also does great when things like that, when you just have something and it's just taken care of right away and you don't have a bill that's, you know, $20, $30, $50,000 out of nowhere. I don't know. I think that the companies that are for profit, I guess it'd be the healthcare insurance companies, I think they got their claws into the system in the US too early. I think it's just too early, and I think their claws are just so embedded in the system that I think it's hard to just pry them out. I think the whole system would come apart if you did that. But maybe that's what needs to happen. I'm going to look into more if RFK actually has any insight into this. You know, I'll even try it right now. I'm going to end the episode, but let's just see really quick. RFK Jr. healthcare insurance. Let's see. Let's see if anything pops up. Healthcare stances. So really nothing. There's really nothing so far, which is kind of surprising. You think that would be the thing, but then you're going after some really big people. He's already going after pharma and the food industries. You know, maybe he's just picking his battles slowly. I don't know. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you think it should be available for everybody? There shouldn't be people getting turned away. There shouldn't be a system in place where a guy like this Fata guy is able to say, okay, let me just diagnose these people with cancer, even though they don't have it. I'll make a bunch of money here because I'll just bill the insurance companies. Like, maybe that's just what I'll do. I don't know. Or maybe a guy like that exists either way. But let me know in the comments what you think about this whole thing. I found this story absolutely terrifying. And honestly, it's making me want to message some of my siblings and asking about my dad's cancer. It really is. Just, you know me, I got the tinfoil Speedo on all the time. I'm really considering it. It couldn't hurt to just, I don't know. Very weird, man. Very weird stuff. And, God forbid that happens to anybody who's watching this or anything, or even me. Like, it's just crazy to think about. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. Happy Sunday. I'll see you tomorrow.